once you've learned a decent amount, hand it over to the instincts.
Yeah, man.
Because when I talked about that, what I kind of wrapped up in archery there, the fight of the minds. I've seen that many times. You get enough experience, you consciously absorbing all this information, but then you go out and you apply it, and that other part of the mind gets stronger and more powerful, and it tells you to do that, and then your conscious comes. That's the fight of the minds. And so many times your instincts tell you what to do, and I've seen this. Your instincts tell you what to do, and then you sit around for a minute and your conscious talks you out of that. That's a fight of calculations of what to do. I say it's a fight of calculations with the bow, but that's a fight of calculations in the hunt. And I've seen that many times. My instincts told me to do this. Oh, are you sure? Or I've been with another really good hunter, and then it's like, what do you think? Well, I'm thinking this, and it's like, don't let that, once you got enough experience, don't let your conscious talk you out of your instincts are more right the more you do something.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, is the reps you put in, like what you said earlier. I can't go out and shoot my trad bow 50 shots and go, hey, I think I got what Jared was talking about. I think I got it down. Like it's going to take the reps and the dedication and the hard work. But then there's that gray area of where you do kind of let your instinct take over. I mean, I've played guitar since I was 6 years old. And when people ask me certain things or why I do certain things now, it's hard to give an answer, because you're like, I don't know how to explain that. I'm not telling my hand to go here at this time. It's just total. I guess muscle memory is a word that can be thrown around, but
I get what you're saying. I don't like to use that word because it's way more way more deeper than that. But yeah, you may have to use the conscious for a little bit, learning how to play the guitar. But after you recognize, I don't have a fault, now you hand it to the other mind, and now you get fluidity with it, and you get
that's a good word,
right?
Right.
You can't get absolute highest level of. There's hardly any fluidity within the conscious mind if you're trying to execute. Just consciously try to think about walking. It's awkward for me to watch somebody do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no fluidity. There's no grace with it. Or conscious, like once you learn how to ride the bike, you let it take over. And as I mentioned, I do use the conscious to hyper train certain areas of the body that I detect, there's a fault here within it. And then once it's matured enough, then I hand it over. You do the same thing for 10, 15 years. People that are listening now and they don't get that, I call it instinctual hunting. Because you begin to trust that other part of the mind. You're not even looking, at exactly what the weather's going to be. You're not a lot of people know that. We're not running cameras. We're not pre-scouting. And I'm not saying not to do any of that. I'm just telling you what we haven't done since I haven't ran cameras since before I started the videos. So I think I gave them away in 05 or 06, the couple of 35 millimeters I had.
Yeah.
And I did 1 day of pre-scouting in 2008, and that's it. As far as like spring scouting, in the summer there was a day or two way back in like 2010. It's like we'd go shining or go look at bucks, but other than that, it's like I don't even entertain it till it's hunt time. I'm not saying that any of that can't help in certain ways either. Everybody's got to find their niche thing that works for them, but we do rely very heavily on our instincts for decision making. When I say we, I'm obviously the cumulative group within Whitetail Adrenaline, but yeah, people probably would think that we're sitting around at night strategizing tomorrow, overly strategic. It's not a lot of that. Now, back in the days when we were more learning certain things about whatever it might be, you're consciously learning and taking in this, information. But I don't like to overly think everything. I like to go into the next day and see where the instincts, that part of the mind takes me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm somebody who can really, if I have too much information, I love to learn, but there are times where I can, we talked about this a few shows back. You can, down here In the South, you can walk through the big woods and you can have a plan all day long and it'll eat you right up, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to be, I'm learning that. So I'm not saying this like I got it figured out, but I'm learning that you got to go in there. Yeah, it's okay to go in with a plan, but you've got to be able to adapt. And so this has been good for me just hearing that.
Yeah. 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 And you know, I mean, sometimes sure, we'll make a small plan like, oh, we're going to start here in the morning or whatever. We might make a mini plan, but we're not sitting around for an hour discussing it or even thinking about, you know, and I think we're better that I think the other part of the mind when that day and moments come, it doesn't, it's not a battle of the minds anymore because you had this dedicated giant plan in your head. So then your adaptability is going to increase if that kind of makes sense. Cause you have no plan that you've set, like committed to, like, well, I got to get there. This is where I had my heart set on. It's like, oh, there's a big buck 400 yards over there. I think I can head him off, but I got 5 minutes to do it and I got to be here, you know, just going with it. And 9 times out of 10, that might not work, but 1 out of 10, it does. And when it does, it's like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good odds in the deerwoods too. I think it was the hunting public talking about, I think when maybe they switched over to the saddles, about how much more this was several years ago, but how much more liberated they felt because they're not walking in, you know, a mile and a half with a tree stand, and all of a sudden you feel like you have to climb because I brought my tree stand with me. So you're like, these guardrails of your plan are just, you know, messing you up and not allowing you to be instinctual and do what your gut is telling you to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't run a lot of stuff. It's like when I'm out there, it's my binoculars, bow, arrow, broadhead, not much else. You got to be careful. Otherwise you begin to create limit, you know, for me anyways, you know, I have great freedom of keeping my feet on the ground and the adaptability and all of that. And I'm not saying there's a lot of good, I believe there'd be a lot of good hybrid situations too. You know, I'm out there on the ground covering ground, but it's easy for me to because I'm covering so much ground to identify, boy, if I was a tree stand or saddle guy, boom. Now I maybe never would have found that pocket, but I can identify like, ooh, this isn't maybe built right for still hunting through right here, but that's a good, you know, I mean, you could develop a hybrid for yourself, you know. Here again, there's no creating division here, you know, like, you know, that's the one thing. It's like, if you want to hunt a tree, like, you know, they're great too. I mean, you can't say they're not. I mean, look at how many, you know, big whitetails have, you know, been taken that way, or, you know, it's all situational based. That's why there's no one way to archery that's 100% the best way in all scenarios and situations. There just isn't. And in my opinion, anybody that would say that either isn't experienced enough to know the other forms of archery or is just lying. So, that, you know, whether it's hunting or archery or whatever, I mean, you have to decide what's going to work for you and then maximize yourself within that space.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. You can check out the rest of this interview and over 50 hours of additional expert hunting content over at HuntBetter.us. Check out the link in the description. Hope to see you there. Hunt harder, hunt smarter.